Hello, everyone, and welcome live to 3Y TV, the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series from the beautiful Daytona International Speedway. It is chase race number 1. Will we see championship implications here tonight at this 2.5-mile famed racetrack? I'm Peter Short, and joining me alongside is Drew Eisenman. And Drew, 250 miles here at Daytona International Speedway here tonight. It's going to be a little bit of a long one, but these drivers, they're going to have to stay out of trouble if they want to move up in the point standings tonight.
Absolutely, Peter. In just about 3 weeks, we'll have some sports cars and some prototypes running around the road course here for about 24 hours. But tonight, the trucks here at Daytona, the first race of the chase, it's a pretty intense ask for these chase drivers for their first race for this run for the championship to be at Daytona, because so many things that can happen that are out of your control. We've all seen videos and races where the big ones happen, and Peter, it just takes a split second of somebody else making a mistake for your championship push to just be completely altered.
Absolutely. John Cannizzaro is trying to kind of mesh himself with the camper vans. I think we've been hearing that John Cannizzaro Jr. has actually been sleeping in his truck all week long leading up to this race. So he's going to go down there for a little bit of a cat nap in the infield right there next to his good buddies and all those camper vans. Maybe they're having a big party and whatnot. But let's see if we can bring up the point standings entering into tonight here. Jason Gracias is your leader in the point standings there, with John Cannizzaro with a, looks like Sharpied 3X there on the points graphic. There in second. Chris Darling comes into tonight third in points with 2 wins. Philip Scott fourth. Justin White fifth. Jeff Price in sixth. Jordan Schepler, Ben Mashburn, Nathan Maurer, and Travis White. However, we do want to include some late breaking news, and that is that the driver in sixth in points, Jeff Price, is actually out. We're wishing him well. Has some surgery which will prevent him from participating in the chase here in the National Sim Racing Association, and as such, Matt Cherry has been added to the chase field. So Matt Cherry's name not on that list that you see there on screen, but essentially Jordan Schepler, Ben Mashburn, Nathan Maurer, and Travis White will all get 5 additional points. They'll move up to 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, and then Matt Cherry will bump his name into the bottom of that. League officials here having to do a little bit of swapping around, but we want to wish him all the best as we go into the craigsetupshop.co.uk poll shootout here. Andrew, why don't you jump on board with one of these drivers just now about to roll out onto the racetrack? This one here in particular, Philip Scott, and kind of tell everyone at home watching what it means to qualify here at Daytona and how you go about doing so.
Yeah, it's certainly a different approach than most tracks that you're going to go out and qualify at. Where the first lap typically on ovals is going to be the money lap. It's going to be where you have the most grip, the most speed. Here at Daytona, I'm anticipating it's not always the case. It kind of depends on the fixed set that these guys are running. They're running the supplied stock iRacing fixed set. So I'm anticipating that second lap to be the quickest. But here's what you're going to do on this out lap and first time lap. You're going to try to run as close to the wall as is comfortable without binding that truck up on exit. What you really want to do is as little input into the wheel as possible, scrub as little speed as possible, and by running that high lane, not only are you giving yourself a little more track to build up that speed because of these restrictor plates that really have taken the horsepower out of these motors, but you're actually giving yourself a little bit of a downhill run out of the corners because you fall out of the corners here at Daytona. So that's what Philip Scott is doing here on his first lap. It's always interesting to see the different approaches that drivers take. Sometimes it doesn't really matter if you run the high line or the low line. I don't think running the high line really ever hurts you too much. Typically what you want to do is about what Philip is doing, probably straddling those dash lines any higher than that, and you're risking kind of getting a little too high on exit and having to put too much wheel in that truck. As now Philip Scott exits turn 4, goes down the short chute on the front stretch now into the tri-oval, and now you see right on that white line. We'll see what Philip does here on this time lap. There's a couple different approaches that you can do on this second lap. You can run right against that yellow line the whole way around the track, which is what we've seen from Philip thus far. He's a little above the yellow line, but there we go. I mean, right there. So Philip, yeah, keeping it tight to that yellow line. I know what I personally try to do is just let the truck kind of naturally unbind itself out of the corner. You might move up the track a little bit, but whatever I can do to scrub as little speed as possible is typically what I like to go for. But sometimes this pays off as well, and that's what Philip is doing, running right against that yellow line. I anticipate his exit out of 4 will be similar. There you go. That's what I like to do. Let it, only about half a lane does that truck need to go up so you don't bind that thing down and kind of scrub speed with too much wheel into it. And we will see where Philip Scott comes in, and that is P2 behind Randy Perdue. Not too bad, 52.471 for that 99 machine.
Yeah, and you'll see eventually times will start to populate at the top of the screen, but for right now, it is actually Adam Newton in the number 29 machine going fastest of all. Here is the number 28, Adam Dama, who was in the chat last night here on 3Y TV in the Beer Street Journal Grand National Series. If you did not see that finish last night to the BeerStreetJournal.com Grand National Series event right here on 3Y TV, it was stunning. It was absolutely awesome to see them race all the way to pretty much the checkered flag. And it was a finish. I don't want to spoil it for all the people watching right now who haven't seen it yet, but it's definitely worth going back and watching as Adam Dama comes out of turn number 4 down the front stretch. He just looks like going to come down pit road. Adam Newton is currently the driver who is on his way. If he can put in a better time this time, not quite able to do so, but Adam Newton currently on the provisional CraigSetupShop.co.uk pole position award. We'll see whether or not he can hold on to it. Nick Kessler out there in the number 88 machine. Justin White in the number 2. That is the Grinds coffee machine. He is coming down the front stretch here. See what he can do at the line this time. And he, in that number 2 machine, is going to go to top of the board. How about that? A 52.438 there at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Fastest by 4 1/1000ths of a second. Jordan Scheffler was on a good lap, but the number 13 machine's going to stay. No, he's going to jump to the top of the board. The number 13, look at this, Drew. A couple of late qualifiers, only 10 seconds left, and Jordan Scheffler looks like he will be starting on the CraigSetupShop.co.uk pole position award.
Yeah, it took timing and scoring a good 10, 15 seconds to record that 13 time. I really thought the 2. I loved that exit out of 4 that we saw from that number 2, just letting that thing drift up, just taking the wheel out of it on exit. But a fantastic late qualifying surge by both the 13 and the 2 machines. And starting position isn't everything here, Peter, at Daytona, but it really helps early on keeping yourself out of trouble.
Yeah, that is for sure it does, and we will see all these drivers start to line up here at the end of pit road. Let's see if we can bring up tonight's starting lineup here in the NSRA STS Truck Series, because starting on the pole, the number 13 of Jordan Scheffler. Alongside him, Justin White in the number 2 machine. Look at that. Number 2 starts in 2. Called his own number in the CraigSetupShop.co.uk pole shootout. Adam Newton, John Cannizzaro Jr. on row number 2. Travis White, Randy Perdue. Philip Scott, Garrett Gleason. Good qualifying run for G Money there in 8th. Nick Kessler and Fred Lester rounding out our top 10.
Starting in 11th is Johnny Williams in that 69 machine, with Josh Corner starting in 12th position. 13th will be that number 28 machine of Adam Dama, with Matt Cherry starting to his outside. Then it's Martin Plute and Jason Grazia starting next to each other. Scott Tompkins starts in 17th. Jeffrey Johnson Jr. in that 33 machine in 18th. And then Doug Milner and Stan Hausman round out our top 20.
And I do want to make a mention there about Doug Milliner. Before the start of the race, I went to talk to Doug Milliner, who is tonight's race sponsor, coming in right at the very end. Tonight's race is The Last Jedi Was a Bad Movie 250 here at Daytona. Late breaking news that Doug Milliner wants to get his word out. I cannot confirm or deny whether or not The Last Jedi was a good movie in my books. All things that you hear here on the stream may or may not be the express thoughts of us up here in the 3-Wide TV booth, but at least for Doug Milner, The Last Jedi was a bad movie. He wanted to get his word out there, so he'll be rolling off there from 19th. Vincent Valvano, Nathan Maurer, however, will be rolling off from row number 11. Chris Darling, Doug Neal, 23rd and 24th. Looking a little bit further back in the field here, just one more car, and that is the number 4 of Ben Mashburn. We'll see if he can get winner chicken dinner. Got that win earlier this season in the Chester's number 4 machine. As you see, all the cars now start to roll off behind the iRacing pace car, and it's going to be a long race here tonight. Drew, 250 miles, 100 laps here around Daytona. If we can get a lot of green flag racing, those laps will kick off very quickly. But if not, it could be a fairly long event here tonight. But great to see a 25 truck field for the 250 miles. So one truck for every 10 miles.
Yeah, I mean, so it's always interesting, I think, with league races. Sometimes on the super speedways, the fields max out. You get every single person registered for the league showing up for a given race with that number 13 machine on the Craig Setup Shop pole position. Here in 3-Wide, it honestly seems like they're not quite as popular as they tend to be with some other leagues. Only 25 trucks. I know a lot of leagues would love to have 25 trucks show up consistently, like NSRA tends to do, but I definitely was kind of expecting for a lot of people who, some guys maybe not as competitive on traditional tracks like the 1.5s and short tracks, definitely feel like they have a shot at these big super speedways where those skills are very different that are required to be successful. But Jordan Chepler in that number 13 leading that number 2. That is Justin White. Both chase drivers, by the way, Peter, starting on our front row. And here we go. Green flag is out. Really cool pillars supporting the flag stand there. As we are now under green at Daytona on lap 1 of 100.
And the chase starts here at Daytona. I'll tell you what. It is going to be one wild ride here tonight. 5 races to determine the series champion, and we are racing out of turn number 2 for the first time here tonight. These trucks getting up to speed. There's almost contact there between the number 13 of Chepler, who's already lost the lead here, Drew, down the backstretch. Number 2 of Justin White, as we have a couple of trucks back there, Nick Kessler being one of them in the Taz Racing Customs number 88, dropping to the back of the field, trying to stay out of the hornet's nest. We're going to say that a couple times here tonight at this racetrack. One lap now in the books. They come out of turn number 4, coming to the line here in The Last Jedi. It was a bad movie, 250, and it will be the Wild Child, the number 12, the John Cannizzaro, going across the start-finish line to lead lap number 1 with a little bit of help from behind. Randy Perdue is in the number 25 truck here tonight. Most of these trucks, we've seen a lot of these liveries all season long, but a few drivers like John Cannizzaro who kind of going back to when Daytona always used to be at least a night race, always used to be kind of around the July 4th weekend. Drew has a very patriotic Camping World number 12 scheme as, man, oh man, they're up at the front. They're racing like it's the last lap, guys. This is only lap number 2 here at Daytona.
Yeah, that 12 scheme almost reminds me of the old Rusty Wallace last call scheme back. Or was it the presidential scheme from, 04, I think? That was always a cool scheme. A little bit lighter blue, but a really cool scheme nonetheless. As it's going to be interesting, Peter. It feels like the majority of the field has already kind of decided to kind of Dale Jr. it, albeit on the bottom line, where just going single file, just trying to make this thing work as the 51 machine out on track. I believe that is Adam Lichty, who is a late joiner here, Peter. And I think he might have just basically loaded in, and he's already, is he 1 lap down? He's 27 seconds behind the leader, so not quite 1 lap down, but he certainly will be very, very quickly. And Johnny Williams also has already lost the draft, but there's only 7 cars kind of actually racing right now up towards the front. Josh Corner, Travis White, Adam Newton, Randy Perdue, Jordan Chepler, John Cannizzaro, Justin White are the only guys really trying to get up there and lead some laps thus far. And Peter, this is the thing with kind of laying back, is if enough guys decide to do that, the race isn't going to go the way you think it's going to go necessarily. We can have some really long green runs where if you're one of those drivers towards the back, laying back, trying to stay out of trouble, all of a sudden after pit stops, you lose your drafting partner, you're by yourself, you can find yourself a lap down fairly easily if you're not quite paying attention to just how the race is developing.
Yeah, that is for sure. Also want to mention that Johnny Williams is off the pace as well at the back of the field. But as this race develops, Drew, we'll see comers and goers. We'll see some drivers mindful of the track position, especially early. They don't want to be up here. I mean, we've seen some hard racing already. I mean, speaking about the race developing, as kind of said, it seemed like it was the last lap there early on. And typically, as this race develops, maybe some of these drivers will realize, you know what, maybe we should calm down just a little bit and log some laps. As soon as they start to realize that that lap counter doesn't quite tick by as quick as they expected it might. It is going to be a little bit of a long slog here tonight at this racetrack, but these trucks, they are fairly quick, going 180 or so miles an hour down the straightaways, about 100 and anywhere between 180 and 175 in the corners. But up at the front, it is Justin White and Jordan Scheffler who were your front row, kind of in opposite order, with the number 2 of Justin White starting to the outside. Ben Mashburn, remember we mentioned that he started shotgun on the field in the Chester's Ford F-150. He's already made it up to the 11th position, so plus 14 spots. And as the race develops, like I said, we'll have comers and goers early on. We have Ben Mashburn, who is so far a comer.
Yeah, and it's a good job. I think it's a little easier when guys are being this apprehensive with racing. There's a lot of off throttle time, and a lot of guys are quite frankly want you to pass it when the field is this strung out. I'm really interested to see how well that high lane works. I was in for a good 30 minutes in practice, and I never quite frankly saw a big enough pack of trucks to really be able to gauge if that high lane would be competitive. It kind of just fell apart once some trucks basically caught that front pack, and then all went to the bottom, and so all the bottom lane trucks got a ton of momentum. So it'll be interesting to see as the night runs on if that outside lane will gain a little bit of speed, or just if it's competitive, because it's a big unknown right now. I think it changes so much early in the race versus later. Guys aren't getting big runs. They're not pushing each other nearly as hard. Although Ben Mashburn and that number 9 machine of Josh Corner, it doesn't seem like they're holding back too much. So that might be a little beneficial, but it also could lead us, at least to the high lane. It also might be a little misleading depending on how that inside lane is pushing. But it seems thus far, Peter, that at the very least, that outside lane with 2 trucks is doable. If that inside lane's not too well organized.
Yeah, that's for sure. That outside line, when they got together, Joshua Corner and Ben Mashburn, who we right on board with right here, they got nose to tail, and they almost drew level with Jordan Scheffler. Now they're starting to fall back maybe just a little bit, but maybe some of these people behind him keeping an eye on what the number 9 and the number 4 are doing, because again, look at this down the backstretch. Joshua Corner with a huge push from the number 4 machine. They not only draw level with the number 13 of Jordan Scheffler, they went toe-to-toe with the 2 of Justin White for the race lead. So maybe there is some pace in that high line. If you can get it to work out for you, time your run just perfectly, get yourself up to the front. We'll see if Corner can lead the lap. No, he cannot. Give that one to the number 2 once again, as the field is catching up to the back of Adam Leichty, who is in turns number 1 and 2 right now. Johnny Williams is in turns number 3 and 4, so those 2 trucks without the draft in the main pack, Drew, they're really suffering, and this pack is catching them very, very quickly. And just to kind of put it into perspective for everyone at home, the pack is going about 183, 184 miles an hour down the backstretch. Leichty that time, only 170. So that's a good 18 miles an hour. And if you do the math here at Daytona, which is 2.5 miles in length, that is about 7 laps per hour you would fall down if you maintained that type of speed differential. So it is paramount that you can get into the draft. Now, of course, we do have the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award, so hopefully Adam Leichty can kind of get into this main pack, get the draft, and hopefully pick up one of those Brookstone Animal Hospital awards. And he's just going to head down onto the apron down there, trying to get that lucky dog at some point, so hopefully he can join in with the pack. Meanwhile, toe-to-toe up at the front again down the back stretch as Joshua Corner saying, you know what, this high line does have some speed.
I thought Mr. Lighty might have been thinking that we were at the Daytona 24. I thought he was headed towards the bus stop there for a second, but a responsible move by that 51 to not basically put the field in a position to where they're going to have to go 3 wide. And I was actually going to say, Peter, that I think the success the 4 and the 9 are having might draw some other trucks to the high lane. You know, when you see that's viable, you're more likely to try to make a move other than when it's not working and you're just kind of throwing stuff out there to try to see what works and if you can make a move. Those 2 trucks have shown that outside lane works. I'm really surprised. We had one truck, I honestly, it was the kind of matte yellowy truck that went up there. Yep, there you go. That truck right there. I can't quite make out the number. Behind the there we go, Peter. Look at that. The 48 machine was up there working with those guys for just a little bit, but Fred Lester decided that wasn't really worth it. And interesting to see. I do think this is encouraging for late in the race, though. I think that basically the entire field, because they're behind these 5 drivers up here, 6 drivers, I think they've seen what that high lane can do, and I think that is going to be encouraging if the field comes together. But, Peter, I always think that if you can get to the first pit stop without a caution coming out, the chances of a caution coming out start to really dramatically decrease. After every subsequent pit stop, trucks pull themselves apart. Some drivers don't get on pit road very well. Some drivers get on pit road too well and get penalties. Some drivers get off pit road too well, get penalties. Some guys merge too early and get penalties. And it just kind of pulls the pack apart. Typically, not always the case. Sometimes everybody kind of gets the same in and out lap off pit road. But it's really going to be interesting to see. It's not a guarantee. I think everyone coming into Superspeedways expects the big one, the proverbial big one, and certainly there have been big ones in NSRA and in real life. But it's certainly not a given, and planning your race around that, if you're a chase driver, is understandable, but it can be its own risk, and if you get stuck back there, you can't make that track position up once you're 8 seconds behind the leader. It becomes really, really difficult, as that number 11 and the 54 of Chris Darling and Matt Cherry, respectively, working a little bit on that high lane. I don't know what the point, quite frankly, is of running too wide when you're this far back. Maybe these guys are trying to make their way up front. Maybe they're seeing that not too many drivers are really taking this racing too intensely, and that there's an opportunity to get up there and lead a lap or so and get those bonus points. It is the chase time. All those points do matter. And Jordan Scheffler and Jordan Scheffler did lead a lap. I was about to say, I don't know if our pole sitter has. Or has? No, he's in third. My apologies. He's in third. I don't think the 13's level lap, but the 2 certainly has. And I know that 4 is trying to. All these guys are trying to grab those bonus points. And here you go, Peter. That's how quickly those trucks moved up because of how much off-throttle time that back of the pack's having. The 11 and the 54 jumped up from, 15th to around 10th place in about a lap and a half or so. Oh, the 54, Matt Cherry sideways.
Matt Cherry going all the way down to the bottom side of the racetrack, and how that's not going to bring out a caution flag, I have no idea. We just saw him racing up through the pack with the number 11 of Chris Darling, but what happened here with the number 54 machine down there? Oh, just got loose in the tri-oval there, Drew. We've seen that at Daytona a few times in the past, but that was a wild save, an absolute wild save for the number 54 machine. We're going to have to go on board and see exactly how that happened from the onboard look here. Just got loose, trying to save it, puts a lot of wheel in it, and somehow puts it going back in the right direction, kind of whipped it back to being in shape. And the number 54, Matt Cherry, he's going to lose ground here, but as you can see, still in with a shot here. And The Last Jedi was a bad movie 250 in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series here in the National Sim Racing Association. First Day Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series race of 2022. We want to wish all of you a happy new year here on 3 White TV. If you're in the chat here tonight, we'd like you to perk up. Martin Plute joined us in the chat, and how about this here, folks? If you haven't heard the news, 3 Wide TV, we hit 1,000 subscribers a few weeks back, and we are now a YouTube partner, which allows us to get members here on the channel. And Stan Hausman has hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. He has become the 4th member of the 3 Wide TV pit crew. A subscription that gets you extra emotes here. We're going to get even more emotes now that we have 4 people. We can actually add some extra custom emote slots here on YouTube to kind of upload. As man, this is some tight racing up at the front of the field. Justin White and the number 29 machine of Adam Newton getting all up in the side of the number 13 of Jordan Scheffler. But Stan Hausman, want to give a big shout out to him in the race here tonight in the number 39 machine, back there in the pack in the BeerStreetJournal.com number 39 machine. Make sure you check out BeerStreetJournal.com, link in the description. They are a series sponsor here in the National Sim Racing Association, sponsoring the Beer Street Journal Last Call, which surprisingly, Drew, we haven't had a lot of BeerStreetJournal.com last calls so far this season. It seems like we had a lot of green flag finishes, and that is good for everyone at home, for sure, that we get that type of clean action. And so far, so good here tonight. So far, every lap run under green.
Yeah, I think if I'm a driver, I typically would prefer to not have those last calls because just, especially at Daytona, chaos ensues. But, I mean, so I talked earlier as if the caution would only come out if there was a big one. It only takes one car to cause one truck, in the case of tonight, to cause a caution, as we saw with Matt Cherry losing it. I think that Matt Cherry probably clipped the apron just a little bit, and the tri-oval is the least banked corner at Daytona, and that's actually in both Daytona and Talladega, both the true Superspeedway races, even though we'll see with Atlanta what that amounts to, are actually the worst handling parts of the track for these trucks because there's the least amount of banking in those corners. So when you clip the apron in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, that's not going to be fun. It might cause you to spin, but it's probably going to cause you to spin going through the tri-oval because you just don't have a lot of load on that truck because there's not that much banking to lean into. And so that's why I think you see a lot of incidents happen in the tri-oval. It feels tighter somehow, and I think that's because your truck is at the edge of grip more than it is through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So not terribly surprising that we saw a moment through the tri-oval, especially by Matt Cherry. I mean, how many times have we seen that 54 sideways and catch it? And sometimes not, but most of the time he absolutely does catch that thing, but he is not afraid to kind of hang the rear end of that truck out there a little bit and get a little sideways. Peter, as we've hit lap 20, it seems like the intensity's picking up a little bit. When do you think these guys are going to have to make their pit stops?
Well, we expect to see here tonight a 2 pit stop race if this race is to go green. If you do the math, that would put them on pit road around somewhere between lap number 33 and lap number 34. That's what we expect. Now, they might be getting a little bit better or worse gas mileage depending on where they are in the pack, so we'll have to see whether or not that happens. They do run a full tank here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. If you're familiar with the sim racing, some leagues actually diminish the size of the fuel tank just to add more pit stops, but this particular series runs a full fuel tank, and so we do expect to see them pit sometime around lap number 30, give or take 4 laps. So I expect to see them kind of get there, and like you said, Drew, if they can get to green flag pit stops, it usually really breaks up the field here on these super speedways because 1 second on pit road does not seem like a whole lot. It really is just a matter of hitting your brake marker perfectly, getting the truck slowed down to get onto pit road. That whole complex, if you're 1 second slower than another truck, that can spell doom and gloom here at Daytona International Speedway. You are traveling about 100 yards a second. That's basically what they say when you come to Daytona International Speedway. It's 100 yards a second, so that's a football field. So if you lose that amount of time and more, a second and a half, that's over a football field in length. Sometimes you can draft that distance back up, but if you kind of are a football field behind and you don't have the momentum on your side, you're going to lose that draft. You're going to lose that draft, and it's not going to go well. Oh, man, that almost didn't go well up at the front of the field. Looks like the number 4, Ben Mashburn, and the number 29 machine, Adam Newton, almost made contact there coming out of turn number 4. They keep things going straight, and intensity definitely heating up because, Drew, I think these drivers are starting to realize we are getting close to pit lane time. We are getting close to when we need to come down pit road. Positioning yourself to get onto pit road, putting yourself, in the inside line, which is closest to the pit lane, but also putting yourself up towards the front of the field is a little bit of bump drafting. Matt Cherry giving a big shot to the back of the number 6 machine. That is Doug Milliner in the Mark Martin Pfizer Viagra throwback machine right there. Second truck in line on the outside line behind Ben Mashburn, who's now leading. And oh, wow, some early pitters here. So looks like this might be, I was thinking just a 2-stop race. This might be a lot more than that, as maybe they're not running a full tank here tonight at Daytona International Speedway. They typically do, but this seems a little bit early for me, as Randy Perdue there in the 25. Oh, no, man, that was lucky. Good old iRacing, and looks like 25 kind of overshot his pit stall. That's not good news for him. That's that second loss that I was just mentioning there, Drew, that overshot his pit box, had to throw it in reverse, had to back up. That's 1 or 2 seconds. Does not look like a whole lot, but these drivers also taking tires. That's a big surprise. Typically, you don't see them take tires, and oh, disaster for the 2 of Justin White, who is still stationary in his pit box. And Drew, I can only think that this is a pit road speeding violation for the driver who's led a whole bunch of laps so far.
Yeah, I was going to comment that it looked like that 2 was really quick on entry. And yeah, 75% fuel load. I just looked it up in the race info page. Not quite a full fuel load for these guys. Typically, I mean, even in real life, NASCAR changes a little bit from year to year. Ooh, the 48 just blew his pit box. The 20, the 4, oh, the 2's just leaving. The 48 still can't get in his. Oh, that's not good for Fred Lester. Oh, man. Oh, that is certainly. Oh, goodness, Peter. Oh, man. That's not fun. That's not fun when you're that driver. You're too far left. You're still too far left. You're still too far left. Guys, please put fuel in the truck. It doesn't matter. Please, 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 please. I'm in the box. As we'll see. Oh, that one machine of Jason Gracia's got everything there was to get on pit road entry right there. If he didn't speed, he nailed it on pit entry. And I got to be honest, I think Jason Gracia is one of those guys that always pushes the limit, but typically doesn't go too far. But we'll see. We'll see if there's a number 2, a Justin White type hold right there, as John Cannizzaro is in his pit box now. And trucks now pulling out of their pit box. Does everybody leave at the same time? Are there any stragglers there? The 1 definitely didn't speed. So I think that's just about everybody, Peter. And so I think we know now. I think 25 laps is right around the threshold, as I think the 23 is the very last one to pit. So maybe 26 laps that they can make. That would explain the guys that short pitted by 1 lap. But the guys that pitted at lap 24, if you can only do 26 laps on fuel, they're kind of in a box to me, Peter. From here on out, they have to be one of the first guys onto pit road. And you typically do go a lap down here at Daytona. At least you certainly do after a lap or 2. If you're not with the full fields, 3 wide through 3 and 4 as trucks are getting up to speed. That closure rate is always can be a problem as trucks are really hauling the mail, closing in on others. As the field, it's going to be interesting to see once this whole thing plays out how big this front pack is. It's certainly smaller than it was before, but there's a few more trucks than I was expecting at least, but we still hopefully have a bunch more green flag pit stops to go.
Yeah, so at least it looks to be anywhere between a 3 and 4 pit stop race. I was expecting only 2 here tonight for them to make it to about lap number 30, but that obviously was not the case, because what do we know up here in the broadcast booth? Sometimes we call these things wrong, but at least now we know and we can do the math to try and figure out whether or not these drivers can make it to the end of the race. You're looking at Nathan Maurer, who is on form right now in the National Sim Racing Association in 2022 in his Simbox Chevrolet, leading the field. Nick Kessler in the Taz Racing Customs 88 is there in second. Now, Maurer, Drew, he's one of those drivers who pitted on lap number 23 here tonight. He was one of the first adopters to pit road. We think maybe, possibly, could be a little bit short on fuel if this race was to go green, just because if you were to split the race into quarters, that would require 3 pit stops. It'd be lap 25, lap 50, and lap 75. But he missed that first number. He missed that first number by 2 laps. He only got 23, not 25. So that could be important later in the race. We just don't know. Want to also mention about pit road speeding penalties. We know Justin White ended up with a pit road speeding penalty. Johnny Williams may have ended up with a pit road speeding penalty as well, but the number 69 mobile is well off pace. There is Justin White now at the front of the pack, but on, well, I was about to say he was on the tail end of the lead lap, make that 1 lap down as Nick Kessler was able to pull ahead in his Taz Racing Customs Silverado. And look at Matt Cherry, Drew. After that huge save, that Stay Tuned Sports podcast with Jimbo. Hopefully we'll see Jimbo in the chat here tonight on 3 Wide TV. Been a bit quiet here tonight so far. But hopefully that Stay Tuned Sports machine didn't have any damage. Sure doesn't look like it right now from that big hiccup that he had in the tri-oval. And one thing I wanted to say, Drew, you were mentioning, we've seen that number 54 loose at basically every single track. I'm thinking back to Atlanta when he was just out of control. And you've said a couple of times this season that you wish you could just loosen up a tight race car. It seems like Matt Cherry knows how to do it. But through the tri-oval at Daytona, I think that might be just going a little bit too far in that making a tight race car loose.
Yeah, I certainly could have used some loosening up of the setup last night. Practice was loose the whole practice in the race, killing the right front, such as iRacing. That's how it goes sometimes. It's the number 64 machine. Once again, I got to say, the lap traffic tonight has been far more cordial than I would be, and quite frankly have been in the past. I typically just stay on the bottom and get around me so I don't lose the draft for a second time. But good on Vinny Valvano and multiple trucks here tonight, including Johnny Williams and Adam Leichty. I feel like I butcher his name every single time. But Stan Houseman's now coming on pit road. Is this has to be the 39's first pit stop, Peter? No, and if so, that's all the way to lap 30. And now I'm thinking, if a driver can make it to lap 30, I feel like if you save, you can make it to lap 33 potentially and try to make this a 2-stop race.
I believe this is an unscheduled pit stop, Drew. I'm seeing on my end that this is his second pit stop of the night, so I'm unsure why Stan Houseman is making this unscheduled pit stop in the BeerStreetJournal.com machine. Maybe we can follow up with that and see if we can find out. Stan Houseman, who has joined the 3 Wide TV pit crew and is a pit crew member, well, he is down with his pit crew right now, and I could only imagine maybe that they didn't put enough fuel in the number 39 machine, and maybe they only gave him half a tank of fuel or something like that, Drew, that he had to come back down onto pit road for service. He's still in his pit box, however, so perhaps something else is going on. There's Johnny Williams, the number 69, going down another lap. MaxGrafix on the hood of that F-150. That will put Johnny Williams now 4 laps behind your lead pack. Nick Kessler is your race leader. The 54, Matt Cherry, right behind him. Number 25, Randy Perdue, up there at the front of the field as they race the lap truck of the number 2 of Justin White, who started on the outside pole here tonight. If you're just now catching up, the number 2 machine got a pit road speeding penalty here tonight. So let's see if we can check in on another driver that started on the front row, and that was the number 13 of Jordan Scheffler, who walked away with the... That's the wrong button. Sorry about that, folks. The good old CraigSetupShop.co.uk pole position award. He is currently running in the 16th position, kind of towards the tail end of this lead pack, but keeping the corners of the number 13 somewhat clean. You see a little bit of right front damage as he gets around the slower number 39 of Stan Hausman, who is actually back out there on the track. But Drew, I'm a bit concerned with that right front damage there and how it's affecting the hard luck number 13.
Yeah, I'm going to go back in my replay because luckily, thanks to iRacing, we have some pretty cool autonomy when it comes to trying to figure this stuff out. I'm going to go back and see when that happened because I never saw right front damage on that 13 machine. Not quite there. So just going back and investigating exactly when that happened. I believe it was post pit stop. So this is going to be kind of interesting because I absolutely agree. Any type of apologies, just kind of saw what happened. It almost looked like his wheel temporarily disconnected. He just went straight like he had a flat tire going into turn one and just bounced off the outside wall. But any type of damage that you have, Peter, is really, really compromising here. And I think that 13 is now going to lose the lead pack, as a matter of fact, as he's behind Jason Gracias. That is really unfortunate. Number 13 had a ton of speed. There you go. I mean, you can just see that distance opening up between he and the 1. I think the 13 is absolutely going to leave that main pack. And Peter, we talked about kind of intervals in drafting and kind of what those mean, pit stops, all that stuff. To me, it's 6 to 7 tenths of a second is when you can no longer maintain the draft of the truck in front of you. The 13 visually looks right about there right now. If the 1 is being off throttle a whole bunch, maybe the 13 can get up there and try to save it. But the 13 is going to have to work really hard and making sure that he's kind of running qualifying laps with which maintaining as much momentum as possible constantly. It's going to be an intense situation for the 13 as these super speedways, they're not road courses. They're not short tracks. They're not those really physical tracks, but they are mentally just tiring. Just dealing with everything that's happening around you, especially later in these races when these trucks get in closer and closer proximities. That 48 machine who just struggled to get into his pit box is now getting lapped, and now he and that 2 machine are going to battle each other. I shouldn't be too surprised, but the 48 blinking quite a bit right there. That's always disconcerting when you're the truck pushing that truck that keeps blinking. But with how long both the 2 and the 48 were on pit road, that they're only 1 lap down, I could have sworn that I was like, oh, well, that 2 is 2 laps down. I mean, he was there probably for, what is it, a 20 to 40 second hold for too fast on entry. The fact that he's only 1 lap down should be an absolute victory for that number 2, despite that mistake, because he still has a shot. If there's a caution and he gets that lucky dog, which I'm kind of surprised he's working with the 48 as well as he is, because he needs that spot to get that lucky dog award, our Brookstone Animal Hospital lucky dog award, as a matter of fact, Peter. If he can grab that for that number 2 machine, he's back in the fight. But if he doesn't, and there is a caution, and you just get behind that 8 ball when there's just always trucks in front of you that are 1 lap down, he's got an uphill battle to fight. But it'll be, I think, kind of this battle, within the race, is going to be really interesting between the 2 and the 48 to see, that 48 blinking is yuck. That gives me the heebie-jeebies if I'm the number 2 machine. But that's going to be an interesting battle to watch within this main pack of trucks that are on the lead lap.
Yeah, a little bit of a mix, and I think we now have drivers like the number 35 machine there of Martin Klug in the MaxGrafix.co. Number 35 seeing that blinking number 48 says, you know what, I don't want to be in that line anymore. I want to be in a line where all the racers are have a good internet connection, because especially at a racetrack like this where you're in close proximity, it is important to have a strong network connection, because things can go awry very quickly. iRacing does honestly, it seems like it does a better job, to be honest with you, Drew, of drivers that are warping like that sometimes than it does when drivers are not warping, aka the problem of netcode that we see sometimes. But at least for right now, all things going okay for most of the field. Let's get a little bit of a look here. The field has broken up into 2 distinct packs. Jordan Shepler actually was able to kind of keep with that main pack. But let's look at this second group back here, which is led by Jeffrey Johnson Jr. Excuse me, I take that back. Doug Milliner, excuse me, in the number 6 machine. He's running right behind Vincent Valvano, who is a lap truck. The number 23 of Travis White in the group. The number 7 of Garrett Gleason has the Chevy Silverado out there in the Coleman's Care number 7. Good looking ride, and right behind him is Stan Hausman. Hausman able to get back out there on the racetrack, but is currently being scored 2 laps down in the BearStreetJournal.com machine right there behind the number 7. So that's the second group, and if you were to look at the gap right now between Doug Milliner and Jordan Shepler in front of him, well, we're about to bring that up so you can get a kind of an indication that between Jordan Shepler, who's the last car in the lead pack, and Doug Milliner, this second pack is not really losing anything. In fact, if you summed up those numbers, they'd actually have gained maybe a fraction of a second over the last 5 laps. We'll see what it's like this lap, but definitely not making any significant inroads on the lead pack right now. But we just jumped across lap number 40. Closing in very quickly on the halfway mark here. We've been green flag for the opening 100 miles here in The Last Jedi Was a Bad Movie 250. That's a hot take. I think that's going to be my poll question of the night. Johnny Williams in the chat saying he's done for the night. Game glitch, hit the wall, and gave him engine damage. Martin Plute there cutting down across the racetrack. Johnny, that is a tough break, and hopefully we will see you back out here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series next week on 3Y TV, because, of course, the chase is going to roll on to race number 2 of the chase at the Homestead Miami Speedway. 1.5 miles in Miami, or just outside Miami in Homestead, before we got the short track, North Wilkesboro Auto Club. I know that's going to be a lot of fun, Drew, and then we round out our season at another great racetrack, Slippery Slideways at Atlanta Motor Speedway on February 4th.
Yeah, I really hope that iRacing makes sure to archive the current Atlanta before the new one comes in, which is like, I don't know. I'm not a fan. I'll put it that way. I'll keep it relatively nice because it's unfortunate. A track with so much history is now kind of a worse super speedway. Maybe it's better than that. But Peter, I mean, you kind of mentioned this is our first race of 2022. And man, am I excited for the world of racing in 2022. I love MotoGP. I'm not going to talk about that too much because very few Americans like that sport. But F1, new rules, NASCAR, a new car. I think a bunch of unknowns. It's going to be super exciting in 2022 for race fans all over the place. In NSRA, we have the chase and whatever lies in the future for NSRA. That's all very exciting, and we're starting it off, and quite frankly, as exciting of a track as exists in iRacing, and that is at Daytona on lap 43, coming to lap 44. And as you mentioned, Peter, under green flag conditions, these laps certainly do click off rather quickly. Certainly not a short, 100 laps at a short track can go by in under an hour very easily. Here at Daytona, it's going to be a little bit more than that, but these guys are doing a fantastic job of respectful racing, giving each other room, racing smart, and I think that has what has led us to these first 43 completed laps, now on lap 44, being under green conditions, as Nick Kessler is our race leader. Matt Cherry, who, I really need to talk to that 54 machine to figure out how he's loose everywhere, because I sure could use that knowledge, as he is in second place. Randy Perdue in third, and then that number 9 and 99 are racing for 4th and 5th here, completing lap 44.
Yeah, they come around once again here at the start-finish line into turn number 1. You see that front pack now really starting to pull away from that second group. It seems like that second group now really starting to lose time. They've broken up just a little bit, but this front pack mostly single file, with really the only driver kind of jumping out is that Bass Pro Shops number 9 machine of Joshua Corner. We have seen Corner really try that outside line here tonight. He's been making some good use of it, and sometimes here at Daytona, that's the only line you're given late in the race, Drew. And if he can figure out that outside line, he might have a shot at being able to get to the checkered flag first. RC Plains, number 59, joining us in the chat here tonight at Daytona International Speedway, rooting on the driver that we rode on board with in the craigsetupshop.co.uk pull shootout a little while ago, the National Ninja League machine. We call him Ninja Phil. That is an American Ninja Warrior, folks. If you've seen the TV show, it looks like the number 13 of Jordan Scheffler coming back out onto the racetrack, making a pit stop here. In fact, I'm just looking to see if any other drivers have made their second pit stop of the night. Does not look like it. So Jordan Scheffler, an early adopter on pit road in this particular sequence. But we'll see. Maybe we might have a taker this time. Just waiting to see if anyone elects to come down. No one this time. So we will make it past lap number 46. Lap number 50 is the halfway mark. We expect to see these drivers try and make it to lap number 50 on fuel, because that would kind of get them in the window where they can make it on only just one more stop to the end of the race. Stay tuned Sports in the chat as well, saying, I'm here. Anything I missed? Let's go, Matt Cherry. Well, you missed Matt Cherry trying to wreck the Stay Tuned Sports number 54 machine. Got loose in the tri-oval, went down onto the apron, somehow whipped it back into shape, got back up on the racetrack, and he's raced his way all the way up into the second position. We have been green flag, however, for the first 47 laps. We will see whether or not any drivers elect to come down pit road this time. They do not, but it's been mostly single file racing now for about the last 10 or so laps here on 3 Wide TV. And we want to thank everyone who's in the chat here tonight and everyone who's following the channel, really. Our growth has been all because of you folks in the chat. You guys are absolutely awesome and great. We love having you alongside Reality Pelez in the chat, and Bukas playing football. I assume that's how you say your name. Correct me if I'm wrong, but welcome on into 3 Wide TV. Appreciate you joining on in as we have 3 Wide on 3 Wide TV. How about this? Will we see drivers come down pit road? Yes, we will, including Nick Kessler in the number 88 Taz Racing Customs machine. And Drew, more importantly, not able to make it to the halfway mark here tonight.
Yeah, and I gotta wonder, based on, I was kind of keeping an eye on Nathan Maurer, considering he was one of the first trucks on pit road. In fact, one of the group of the first trucks on pit road, when he was going to have to pit. If he can make it to lap 50, I'm not necessarily too worried about the guys that are pitting right now. I noticed that 971 came out as our race leader out of the pit cycle and immediately fell back, probably to save fuel. I'm anticipating that he was probably not loving his fuel numbers where he was running at that time, as the 971 about 10th position now after these drivers have come on pit road. So he was a little bit further back at that time. As here we go, the 9, Josh Corner coming on to pit lane, I'm assuming amongst others. Ooh, the 971, that's going to be really close to speeding for the 971, I got to think. We'll see. If he leaves when the rest of the trucks leave around him, which is not many coming into their pit boxes. And also, Peter, kind of what we've seen some, huge mistake by that number 9 machine. I was literally about to talk about this as well. That 9's, he's not getting serviced. He's going to have to back all the way up, I think. Yeah, he's way too far right. This is a disaster. Nope, he's going to have, no, he's got to completely reposition himself in that pit box. Yep, there you go. No, he's still too far left. This is not going to be a fun time. But these breaks here at Daytona, it's really, to me, not that hard to get on pit lane at speed. Is he finally getting serviced? I think he is. The 48 loses it into the inside wall. But if there aren't any trucks behind him, that's not going to bring out a caution. If a truck comes on pit road behind him, that will. I think the 48's getting it sorted right now as a little too much rear brake for that number 48 machine of Fred Lester on pit lane. 1 lap down already. He really couldn't afford. I think he got lured into that. And The 33 missed the cone, did he not, Peter? That will also be a penalty for that number 33 machine. So a ton of drama here on our second round of pit stops. But back to the brakes. It's one thing getting slowed down onto pit lane. I think there's some fairly easy reference points to make sure you get onto pit lane, as long as you're not trying to get everything out of the truck. To me, the hardest thing is to get stopped in your pit box in an efficient manner. The 99 blew it, Peter. As I said, it's not that hard to get onto pit lane. That 99 certainly will be receiving a massive penalty for that, as not only was he speeding, but he definitely had an unsafe entry as well, as he was well into the grass, as Philip Scott's not going to be too happy with that. Our kind of, I think, momentum-wise, our favorite coming into the chase, John Cannizzaro, a pretty solid stop. I'm always keeping my eye on that one machine, as well as Matt Cherry, who is the beneficiary of that kind of unfortunate news that Jeff Price wouldn't be able to partake. But the 99 still on pit lane. The 29 looks like he might have gotten a penalty as well. So, Peter, some crucial mistakes have occurred this round of pit stops that I think are really going to shape the future of this race.
Yeah, and look at these little pockets of trucks that we see right now. Up at the front, we see Matt Cherry, who is your race leader. He's not yet up to speed, but he has John Cannizzaro behind him. Martin Plute is there. Then back behind them, you got Ben Mashburn, Jason Gracias. They're in 5th and 6th. They're actually being caught by a hard-charging pack led by Justin White in the number 2, who had no troubles on pit road that time. Chris Darling also in the group, the 971, Nathan Maurer, and Adam Dama. But we had, I think, 16 plus trucks. I think we had 2 lap trucks plus the 16 on the lead lap in the main pack. So 18 trucks, and we might now be looking at maybe just 10. You got 4 up there. Jeffrey Johnson Jr., who had his pit road speeding penalty or pit road pit cone violation. He had to serve that penalty. He's now 1 lap down. You got Cherry, Cannizzaro, Plute right there. Then, in fact, the number 2 of Justin White is racing the number 33 for that lucky dog position. Then you, of course, have back there one driver that we haven't really mentioned here tonight. That's the Simbox 970, the Simbox, not the 971, but the 77 of Doug Neal, as John Cannizzaro has usurped Matt Cherry for the race lead. That number 12 goes to the front, I think, for the first time here tonight. But just not a whole lot of cars in this main pack right now. We're at 9 on the lead lap, plus 2 lapped trucks. So we're down to 11 in the main pack. So definitely going to be interesting to see how that continues to play out. Like I said, we have been green flag, caution-free since the drop of the green flag all the way at the beginning of the show. It is chase race number 1. And let's bring up the point standings here tonight. Jason Gracias comes in as the number 1 seed, Drew, has an advantage over John Cannizzaro, but Cannizzaro is leading the race, getting bonus points for leading a lap. That's going to help his end-of-season tally. Chris Darling's in the main pack. Of course, Jason Gracias is in the main pack as well. Philip Scott in the number 99 machine had that disastrous penalty. He is on the verge, probably about 3 or 4 laps away from going 1 lap down in the number 99 National Ninja League machine. That could be disastrous for Philip. Justin White, we know he's had problems on pit road. He is 1 lap down as they run right now. Jeff Price coming into tonight 6th place in points. Well, Jeff, unable to compete in the chase, has given up his chase spot to Matt Cherry, who is in the lead pack. Matt Cherry not on this list. However, he is in the chase because Jeff Price will obviously fall off this list next week. Jordan Scheffler, he's had problems here tonight as 2 trucks go racing by Adam Dama like he's standing still. We'll check on that in a second. Jordan Scheffler's had his problems. He was, of course, the CraigSetupShop.co.uk Pole Award winner at the top of the show. Ben Mashburn, he's in the front pack. In fact, he is battling for the race lead up at the front of the field, and he's actually just taken the race lead behind the graphic. Nathan Maurer in the lead pack, and Travis White is not in the lead pack as they run right now, but things have changed very quickly because Ben Mashburn in the number 4 machine has gone to the front of the field, and a very impressive run for the Chester's F-150 as the lead pack is also caught up to some other lapped traffic in this mix. The number 51 machine back there, Adam Leichte, is currently sitting on 2 laps down behind this main pack. It will help its numbers, at least with one extra truck up there for these drivers to draft off of.
Yeah, Peter, here we are now starting lap 57. Ooh, the 4 machine got a little loose through the tri-oval right there. Coming to start this lap is we are well and truly, I think, getting down to it where every little move, and not that it didn't matter before, is now we're coming up on evidence of what mistakes can do to you. The 99 right up there competing for the race lead early on, now getting lapped by our race trucks, and the 99 kind of doing what I do, pretty brutal move to force that inside up a lane. You're ensuring that you're not going to lose that main pack, but you're definitely potentially causing an incident. Although I think if you're the 99, you kind of wouldn't be too upset if an incident happens that you're not involved in, but might have been because you forced a 3 wide, though down to 2 wide there, but certainly really killed that high lane. We had a healthy high lane developing, and then that 99 kind of forced everybody to figure their stuff out, so there wasn't a caution there. As now on lap 58, the 25 looking strong, the 88's been good. That 4 machine, though, Peter, to me, especially given his starting position at 25th, both he and the 11 started outside the top 20 in 25th and 23rd for the 4 and the 11 respectively. For our Taz Customs biggest mover of the race, those certainly are our favorites right now. We do have a lot of racing to go, but I think that those trucks and their movement forward has been really impressive, and that 4 machine and how aggressive they've been in the draft, that can absolutely bite you. But I don't think you can win if you are hesitant. I think you have to be confident and aggressive in the draft to make those draft moves work. As the 54, a little too aggressive right there. The 51 gets sideways. As that is, of course, Adam Leichty. Peter, please correct me. I know you had a professor with his last name. How do you pronounce the 51's last name? Because I want to make sure I get it right. You got a copy, Pete?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, you kind of pronounce the CT, but you kind of don't. So it's Leichty. So you kind of get some guttural movement back there. Hopefully that doesn't turn too many people off saying that not too kind, or not, at least it's kind of in that same realm, guttural and moist. Yeah. Anyway, we're on lap number 60 here tonight. And Randy Perdue, the number 25 machine, is your race leader. Got kind of that Dale Earnhardt-inspired scheme up at the front of the field. I know Dale Earnhardt, they said he could see the air coming off the other cars, and maybe that's what the number 25 can do here tonight, as Perdue started his way inside the top 10 here tonight in the 6th position, and so far having a pretty good ride towards the front of the field. Still just 11 lead lap trucks in the front pack. Jason Gracias, that we ride on board with right now, is the last lead lap truck in this lead pack. And just to kind of give you a feel for the gap between this front pack and the next group, just wait, folks. Just wait. They're coming. I promise you they're coming. There's the second pack of trucks right there. Far less in count. That is currently led by Adam Newton, Travis White, Doug Milliner in the group as well. But then it is a huge gap, even more of a gap, back to the number 7 of Garrett Gleason, who unfortunately finds himself all alone. I know we have Stay Tuned Sports now in the chat. Garrett's made it this far, so now you can throw all that you want to throw at Garrett Gleason. Looks like he does have the number 9 of Joshua Corner behind him, with Vincent Valvano and Stan Halson, a couple of trucks that are 1 or more laps down as they run. Almost contact between Jeffrey Johnson Jr. as we have one car there having connection problems. What happened to the car in second? Who was the truck that was there in second? I think it was Matt Cherry. It is Matt Cherry. Phew. The 54 jumps back. That was a little bit disconcerting up towards the front of the field, but looks like he is now back. I'm sure some people will be watching his connection over the next couple of laps to make sure that they want to race around the number 54 machine. But he's back as the 11 and the 33 almost make contact, banging doors down the backstretch here.
Yeah, Peter, here we are on lap 62 of 100, and about halfway, I think, to our probable third and final pit stop, and I think very likely third and final pit stop. Yeah, the 54 machine, man, when you're the truck blinking, it's not a lot of fun, because what are you supposed to do if you roll out? You're probably going to reappear inside of another truck. You don't want to take yourself out of the competition unnecessarily, but you really don't want to cause a wreck. And if you're everyone else when that happens, should I let off? What do I do? What do I do? I don't want to reappear inside this truck and then our trucks just catapult into the air, like I've seen happen in iRacing. But I would like to point out, I think our top three are definitely drivers that I think never will leave a move untested. I think that these are three drivers that can be definitely aggressive, but certainly confident and assertive in their positioning of their trucks. They're never afraid to race each other or anyone else for that fact. So I think that it's no surprise that it's Superspeedways, which takes an aggressive mindset to be successful. As I think that if you look at Brad Keselowski and a bunch of other drivers that have had success, I think you have to have an aggressive mindset in these big pack racing situations, because I just think if you're a little hesitant, if you're a little passive, it's going to be really hard to be successful. As that number 2 machine has a lot to lose. Like, I shouldn't say doesn't have a lot to lose, because he certainly does, because he's fighting for the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. And if he were to wreck out, 17th to 24th, which is probably where he would finish if he wrecked out, that's a lot of points that you could lose. But he doesn't have a ton to lose. He doesn't have nearly as much to lose as the guys that he's racing with. So he needs to get up there and really fight for quite frankly, getting up on the lead lap on merit. Because, Peter, what's kind of beneficial to the guys racing around him and to the number 2 himself is that the drivers around Justin don't have to worry about racing him, right? Like, he's just kind of a vehicle involved in this. If he's in front of you, it doesn't matter. In fact, one of my favorite positionings that I've had was I believe in an NSRA race in the Beer Street Journal series, when I had a lapped car in front of me and I was pushing them and we were about a car length clear on the high lane. I'm like, cool, I'm in a perfect position because I don't need to finish ahead of that lapped car, right? I just need to make sure that I'm ahead of the car on the inside. And so that can provide an interesting dynamic, because we could find the 2 pushing one of the trucks in front of them to the race lead. We could find somebody pushing that 2 where they're just pulling ahead of the next truck on the lead lap. And that can bring an interesting dynamic that hopefully will come into play. Always interesting to see how that happens as we're looking at that 35 machine of Martin Plute. A whole bunch of drivers, Peter, up here. I think, quite frankly, I think that this top 10, which I believe, about the top 10, top 11 are in this lead pack. That's a pretty impressive feat to be on lap 66, 2 full pit stops, and have a lead pack that is a full 11 trucks.
Yeah, and hopefully we can keep that lead pack about where it is, because with those impending pit stops, we could very well be whittled down. This group could be cut in half with the way the pit stops are going here tonight. We started with a 25 truck starting grid. We have now whittled down to just 11 in the lead pack, but a caution flag could change everything as we cross the 2/3 race distance here tonight. In The Last Jedi was a Bad Movie 250 in the Stay Tuned Sports podcast truck series here on 3Y TV. Stay Tuned Sports in the chat. Let us know how your New Year's was, how your holiday season was. First time we've seen you in the chat so far this season, and now you can become a member of the 3Y TV pit crew like Stan Hausman has. Last night we had our first 3 members of the 3Y TV pit crew. We had Ahidi Rig join in on the pit crew, Carlos Acosta, and none other than the driver of the number 11 in this race here tonight, Christopher Darling. Stan Hausman becomes a member here tonight for just $1 a month. You can get extra emotes. Let me spam some of those emotes in the chat for all of you folks to see. We are up to 5. In fact, we added one just last night. It is the old school retro 3Y TV logo. But my oh my, it has just been green flag here tonight, so spam those green flag emotes if you have them, if you're a member of the pit crew here on 3 Wide TV. Cool little feature. We've also enabled super chats, so you can jump in there with a donation to the channel if you so wish to let us know what you think of 3 Wide TV. I mean, you know, we take anything all the way down to 69 cents. If you want to donate 69 cents for the laps, well, we'll accept it. It's a lot of fun here on 3 Wide TV, and we thank all of the chat. And speaking of 69 cents, well, it just so happens to be a nice lap number 69 here tonight at Daytona International Speedway in the first race of the chase. I haven't seen a whole lot of major championship implications here, at least yet. We have seen some pit road incidents, and we're closing in on what will presumably be our final round of green flag pit stops here tonight in the next 6 or 7 laps or so.
Here we go, Peter, coming to complete lap 69, starting lap 70. Ben Mashburn still in our race lead. Matt Cherry in second. Chris Darling in third. And I would anticipate approximately 5 laps till we're going to see, I mean, maybe less. Maybe these guys come on lap 73, 74, 75. I think right around there we're going to see our final pit stop. But certainly a really, really compact top 11 right here, all within 1.6 seconds, all one lane. But again, I think these guys are going to take it calm, Peter, until after that final pit stop kind of situates everybody and everybody knows where they're running. I really hope, quite frankly, all 11 trucks are involved in this. I think 11's a really solid number. You're going to have one more truck on the inside or the outside that's going to provide some extra momentum to those respective lines, and I think that can provide some fantastic racing. Actually, there's 12 trucks because the 2's involved as well. I believe the 2 and the 99, so 13 trucks. Is the 33 in there as well? I'm going to have to double check that. The 33 is. So actually 14 trucks involved in this lead pack. So again, Peter, I think those lap trucks could really determine the outcome of this race, because if all of those trucks go high, the high lane is absolutely going to have a better chance than they would otherwise. If the 99 and the 33 are looking a little high right there, going through 3 and 4. But yeah, I think the next real big benchmark, crucial kind of litmus test is going to be that lap 73, 4, 5, maybe 76. I don't think anybody's going to risk staying up too long. Pit stop where these guys are going to take their final stops. But Peter, my question to you is strategy for this last pit stops. Fuel only, right sides. I can't imagine that anybody's going to take 4 tires. What do you think?
I agree with you. I mean, no fuel is really the fastest way to get off pit road. Even assuming no fuel, no tires. Definitely take fuel. Please take fuel down there on pit road, but definitely not taking tires is the fastest way to get off pit road. There is just about a second to a second and a half difference between taking 2 tires or taking no tires and getting a full tank of fuel, especially with the smaller fuel tanks that they have here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. So I think it's going to be important for these drivers to come down and only take on fuel and ignore tires for this final pit stop that is upcoming here shortly. Now, if you're looking out front, you see some trucks up there in the distance. Well, that is the bottom 2 lead lap cars in a group ahead. Joshua Corner and Garrett Gleason. There is Gleason, and you can see he's got Stan Houseman behind him, but they have the lead pack looming not all too far behind. We are currently sitting at 16 trucks on the lead lap. But with the pace we're seeing out of your front pack and closing in on that smaller group, it looks like that very well might be reduced to just 14 trucks on the lead lap. The front pack, if you're making count at home, 11 lead lap drivers in the lead pack. But now that lead pack is going to grow with some additional lapped traffic as Joshua Corner there, Drew, who's had those issues on pit road tonight in that last pit stop. We saw him racing up there at the front of the field, going 1 lap down. but is currently in, was, as I said that, he was in the lucky dog spot, the Brookstone Animal Hospital lucky dog spot, but it's currently the number 2 of Justin White, who he's racing with out there on the racetrack right now, as we got some drivers peeling off to come down pit road. Randy Perdue and Nick Kessler, they are at the line now with the 26 laps to go. So they're going to have to stretch this final run to the checker just a little bit, assuming we stay green flag to the end.
Yeah, I think the big problem with pitting as early as you can is if there's a late caution and we get a Beer Street Journal Last Call Award, you're in a heap of trouble. Like you're setting yourself up for having to take fuel, as the number 2 is actually just completely unlapped himself, as now he's not unlapped, as the 11 and the 4, 54, 39 all go by on the outside. Actually, the 39 is a lap down as well. I'm not seeing Doug Milner up there in my timing and scoring, so he must be, as a matter of fact. Yeah, he is. He's 3 laps down, as a matter of fact. As the number 2, the 9, and the 28 all are on pit lane. And I think that we might see some guys wait a little bit and stretch this kind of longer than they have other stops, because of the potential of that Beer Street Journal Last Call occurring. You don't want to have to pit. If you have to pit for those, Peter, it doesn't matter if there's only 14 trucks on the lead lap. You're not going to win the race, in my opinion. If you have to pit and not everybody else does, there's only 3 lanes maximum at Daytona. And so basically, if you come out, if you have to pit and only 4 or 5 other trucks do, the chances are you're not going to be able to work your way up through the pack in 2 laps.
And here comes
everybody else.
Yeah, basically everyone else coming down pit road. Chris Darling, look at Matt Cherry. Was Matt Cherry in the 54 speeding? He was definitely hot getting to the line. Chris Darling also hot getting to the line. The Taz Racing Customs number 11, is he in? Oh no, Chris Darling overshot his pit box. Could that be disaster for the driver of the number 11? Only time will tell. A lot of these drivers on pit road right now. Garrett Gleason in his pit box. The number 54, Matt Cherry, he's down and away. No speeding penalty. I was concerned about the pit road speed that the 54 had, but he's going to whip everyone off pit road. Look at that 4 wide coming off pit road a little bit further back in this group. And now it's up to these 3 right here. Philip Scott, John Cannizzaro, the number 1 of Jason Gracias. Philip Scott on the tail end of the lead lap. He's going to come down. All 3 of these trucks heading to pit road for the final time here tonight, as they will have 23 laps to go when they get back out there on the racetrack. Good entry by Cannizzaro, Gracias, and Philip Scott. Scott, not as good of an entry, but I think these drivers will be okay. The number 1, does he get into his box okay? Yes, he does. What about the number 12 of John Cannizzaro? He slides into his pit box nice and neatly, and now we'll get to see the field all come back together again. Let's go on board with Jason Gracias. He's now rolling out of his pit box, doing a good job. What about John Cannizzaro? He's now rolling. What about Matt Cherry? He's leading the group out there on the racetrack as Doug Neal in the number 77. What a charge to the front for the Simbox Chevy Silverado. Can he clear Matt Cherry? Yes, he can, as those 3 trucks we just saw leaving pit road. But here comes Randy Perdue with Nick Kessler to the outside. And Drew, getting yourself positioned for these final 25 laps or so here could be important as the lap count winds down.
Yeah, I think that you know, people are going to throw their caution and you know, their conservative nature aside. Oh, there we go, the 77, the 25, go into the infield. What's going to happen to the 77? I think that if this can stay off of the racing surface, it will not bring out a caution. The 77 really slow. Now, caution, because the 77 back up onto the racing surface. Here we go, Peter. Our first caution of the night. I think everybody got through pit road fairly cleanly, but there we go, our first caution.
Let's see what brought out the first caution flag of the night here at Daytona International Speedway. Coming down the backstretch, keep your eyes on the number 25 of Randy Perdue. Neal just gets underneath them here, and they just have it coming together. Maybe a little bit of net code between those two just sends them both into the infield grass. The good news is it doesn't look like the damage on both of those trucks will be night-ending. Doug Neal kind of hard to come back up there onto the racetrack. Let's see Randy Perdue's slide right here. Let's see if this was net code. We might be able to see from this. No, there looked to be like a little bit of contact between those two. Just not a lot of room out there on the racetrack. It's highway driving. It's go time at Daytona. Caution flag number 1.
Yeah, Peter, and I think, quite frankly, that worked out well for both of those drivers to not have any major contact and get out of that fairly cleanly with the caution coming out. But I think that this is where things are probably going to go a little sideways for the next 20 laps or so. The question is, if you're one of the last trucks on the lead lap, do you come down pit road and get fuel? I think the 11, the 4, the 3588, a bunch of trucks, both a lap down and at the tail end of the lead lap, just for a little insurance, so they can make it if there is a Bear Street Journal last call. Coming down, taking fuel. I would probably throw 4 tires on here if I'm the last truck on the lead lap, especially. Why not? A little bit of a reset button here, Peter. Our first one of the night is the 9. Struggled under green flag to get into his box. Struggled right there as well as the 23 as well. Even under caution, Peter. The brakes that happen, the brake packages that are here at Daytona are not great, as Philip Scott is our first recipient of the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. And we saw the 99 have all sorts of problems getting on pit road. He must be breathing a big sigh of relief, as he will be back on the lead lap.
Yeah, he will be back on the lead lap. That is for sure. There we go. Get rid of that graphic. Sometimes your thumbs just become discombobulated. Yeah. Anyway, 20 laps ago this time by. First caution flag of the night, and Philip Scott back on the lead lap. That puts us, I think, at 15 trucks. Just looking up and down the scoring pylon to see if anyone else might have got a pit road speeding penalty or something like that. Adam Adama, the number 28 machine. Not sure what happened to him, Drew. Pitted on lap number 77, and I'm showing that he had an excessively long pit stop. I believe he was actually in the lead pack, but he had a 2.5-minute pit lane time. Spent 2 minutes and 13 seconds in his pit box, and I'm pretty sure he was one of those lead lap trucks in that front pack. So Philip Scott will become the 14th truck on the lead lap for this upcoming restart inside 20 laps to go. We'll see whether or not the pace car lights turn off. Ryder Leangle in the chat. Ryder is a Philip Scott fan, and I'm sure he'll be very happy to find out Philip Scott is back on the lead lap here tonight. And everyone else in the chat. We had Carlos Acosta jump into the 3Y TV chat here tonight. Carlos Acosta is a member of the 3Y TV pit crew. You see that little 3Y TV badge right to the right of Carlos Acosta's name in the chat. That little retro 3-wide TV logo. Well, that is a badge that he gets next to his name. It changes color as you progress and you continue to support the channel. It goes all the way up to kind of a diamond blue. Very cool to see that. And we're getting these first-time members like Carlos Acosta, so you get that little 3-wide TV logo next to your name when you're in the chat to denote that you are a member of the 3-wide TV pit crew, like Stan Hausman became here tonight. Driver of the number 39 machine. Has not been his night, that is for sure. But great to have those custom emotes. They will be continuing to add. If you have a custom emote that you would like to add, maybe you're watching this race on demand and you're watching it kind of after this live broadcast. If you have a custom emote that you'd like to see available to the 3Y TV chat, let us know. If you're in the chat right now, you want to have one added, let us know. We'd love to hear it, love to find out. We got the green flag, we got the caution flag, maybe we need a checkered flag. I don't know, but the chat, you guys run the show sometimes. We let you run the show. You have a good time. Of course, you got a poll up there tonight. Is The Last Jedi a bad movie? Tonight is The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi was a bad movie, 250 here at Daytona, and we're back green flag as Jason Gracias, the number 1 machine, leads us towards turn number 1 here, Drew.
Yeah, as we're going racing, and I'm sure we're not going to be able to discuss this in the next few laps, is these trucks gain momentum, and the racing's very likely going to get very intense as even lap trucks are going to be involved in this. I don't know, Peter. I mean, I've only seen the first of the new Star Wars movie, so I gotta say I have no idea if The Last Jedi was a bad movie, but I do agree that this race is 250 miles at least, winning the Beer Street Journal Last Call Award. But up front, two chase drivers battling it out between, and quite frankly, I think coming in, I think if you had to pick two drivers to battle for the championship, I think these are the two that at least I would pick as, the one got a bump from the 54 mid-trioval. Dead sideways was Jason Gracias, but in that backcraft number 1 machine, but able to get the thing under control. But the 12 clears him, but it's going to be interesting to see what the 12 does, Peter. When you're that truck out front, you have a little bit more freedom, but if you make the wrong move, not only can you pick the wrong lane, but you can get hung out in that middle groove, which is not good for your race chances very, very easily if you kind of are a little hesitant right there. The 12 has a tall order, although the outside lane not looking too healthy right now.
Yeah, that outside line trying to be led by the number 29 machine of Adam Newton, who really wanted to see that caution flag because he was way back in the pack, and he was one of those drivers who actually elected to stay out, and in doing so gained quite a bit of track position. I've got to say, good call by some of those drivers, maybe to get a little bit extra track position. As you see Jason Gracias all over the back bumper. Now John Cannizzaro, you see the field mostly 2x2, and this is the complete opposite of what we've seen most of tonight, Drew. We've seen a lot of single file racing, as here we are on board with Doug Miller, and tonight's race sponsor of The Last Jedi was a bad movie, 250, trying to suck up to the back bumper of Ben Mashburn, who similarly trying to get that Chester's Chicken number 4 machine up towards the front of the field where he has been at various times tonight. Same thing with Matt Cherry right in front of Mashburn. And sometimes, Drew, you start to feel a little bit boxed in at Daytona. Your options are limited. But even though your options are limited, at least at this stage of the race, the gears are turning. My head is trying to calculate what to do every moment of every lap. You might just be riding in line, but should I go to the middle? Should I back out? I'm looking behind me. I'm trying to see what trucks are doing, see if they're getting any momentum, whether you have trucks closing up, whether the inside line, you're trying to watch that inside groove to see if they're accordion, if they're losing any momentum on that inside line, whether they're scrubbing off too much speed. But now, Matt Cherry getting side by side with John Cannizzaro for the race. Leader was there momentarily as that outside line through the corners. It's the longest way around the racetrack, that higher line, but it also allows you to carry more momentum because you don't scrub off as much speed. So you'll see that outside line kind of seesaw back and forth, lap after lap after lap. 15 laps ago here at Daytona. If you're just now joining us, race number 1 of the chase here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. We've only had one caution in the opening 85 laps, but 15 laps separate us and the checkered flag here tonight. Who will take the first stab at the hunt for the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series title? As Drew, those trucks, they're starting to get a little bit more jostly up at the front of the field.
Yeah, certainly bigger pushes than we've seen at any other point tonight. But Peter, I think at least at Daytona, we talk about kind of being boxed in at the draft. At Talladega, at this point, you're going 3 wide, right? I mean, it's going to be 3 wide throughout the field. To me, at Talladega, there's honestly less options, even though there's an extra lane, because you can't force a 3 wide all of a sudden, because 4 wide is going to be a wreck every single time at Talladega. Versus here at Daytona, at least you have that 3rd lane option, which people aren't really going to use unless you're trying to make a kind of a sudden pass. That middle lane, if you're the 6 car to me, or you're the 4, and you feel like you're stuck behind the 54, you can force that 3 wide situation, but I think with 14 to go, you're not quite ready to do that. I think that's an under 5 to go move. But it'll be interesting to see, because those 3 wide situations, unlike Talladega, are very big risk moves here at Daytona. I think basically, if you're one of the top 6, I think you're okay. Oh, you were okay. Here we go, Peter. This is probably going to be the second. No way. They just, oh no, they didn't. The 4's wrecking. Big wreck on the short chute going into turn 1. That's going to be our second caution.
And that one took a while to materialize. Adam Dama involved, Garrett Gleason involved, the number 4 of Ben Mashburn. That one took forever to materialize. Let's break that one down here on the 3-wide TV cam from high atop the tri-oval. Watch the number 4. Looks like the 33 gets into the back of the 1 of Jason Gracias. The 33 goes up the racetrack and then comes down into the number 29 machine. Ben Mashburn's trying to save his truck. But then if you look at some of these drivers like Randy Perdue in the 25, he goes 3 wide, gets into Adam Dama, and we're somehow 4 wide. There goes the green cone on the left side of the screen. May it rest in peace. Oh, the 29 machine there getting a pretty big hit. Randy Perdue getting hit. Adam Dama getting hit as well. Look at the number 35. Martin Plute got involved there, and Garrett Gleason gets into the back of the number 2 of Justin White as he just could not quite see what was going on. Justin White in the number 2 goes down there into the infield. But, all things considered, that could have been a lot worse than it was. A lot of drivers just kind of spinning around, not a whole lot of contact with the wall. Let's see if we can maybe go on board here with Randy Perdue in the number 25. He was one of the ones who got a kind of a bigger hit in all this mess. Got kind of shot up there into Adam Dama and then goes down into the infield. Was he able to keep it off the wall? Yes, he was, as was the number 29 machine there of Adam Newton. So those drivers there kind of getting a little bit lucky. Let's see if we can see what happened to Adam Dama, because I think Dama was one of the more unlucky ones here, Drew, in all of this mess, because I think he actually ended up going into the wall at some point right. Got into Martin Plute. Probably Plute and Dama, probably the 2 drivers the most affected out of that whole incident. Let's get a look from on board inside the number 7 of Garrett Gleason. And folks, he's tucked up right behind Justin White. He can't really see a whole lot because that rear spoiler on the back of the number 2 sticks up quite high, Drew. And you can see he tries to slow down, still trying to slow down, gets into Ben Mashburn. That's a pretty big lick on those 2 trucks as well. But look at a lot of the back half of the field kind of scattering to avoid the mess.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You can be really responsible with how conservative you are with your braking, because look, you can't see what's going on. If you're the number, I believe we're on board with the number 2, not the number 2. The 2 just flashed in front of us. The number 11. I think we're on board with the number 11 of Chris Darling. You can be really conservative with when you see an incident happening. But Peter, if there's not a wreck and you really slow down, you've just destroyed your race. So there's kind of a balance that you have to take between letting off and not trying to not be involved in a wreck. And then potentially, if everything sorts itself out and you let off too much, your race is destroyed, as that number 9 machine will get our Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. Josh Corner, that disappears for a split second, but he will be our second recipient of the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. But it's not always guaranteed, especially with the way that incident was unfolding. It didn't look like it was going to be a caution until, 10, 15 seconds after the incident started. And really, the original trucks involved didn't cause the caution. It was really the 48 and the 28 in reaction to what was going on around them is what actually kind of caused the incident that ultimately brought it out. But as you mentioned, a ton of trucks involved, but I think only the 4, the 7, and the 28 probably have some pretty severe damage. Unfortunately, the 4, a chase driver, looks like he has probably got engine damage, and that he was impacted right on that right front tire, which is never a good thing. Typically, that does result in engine damage. And at these super speedways, any type of damage, let alone engine damage, is absolutely brutal. As now, though, Peter, 1 to go. The 12, the 54, the 1. These are the guys that have been so quick and assertive. I wouldn't say aggressive, but assertive. And once again, these guys are out front. But the way we're looking, Peter, I think in the back of our minds, we need to know which drivers pitted. Now, quite frankly, I think a few of them were involved in that last wreck. But if this trend continues, yes, these guys are saving a little bit of fuel right here. But I think if there's a Beer Street Journal last call, a ton of trucks that are out running right now are going to be in a lot of trouble with fuel.
You know, we've had a couple of caution laps, but the cautions haven't been extremely long. The general rule of thumb is 1 extra lap of fuel for every lap of caution that you run. So if you get, 4 caution laps and you were going to be maybe 1 lap to the good, well, now you'll be 5 laps to the good. That might just be enough for 1 Beer Street Journal last call, maybe not 2, because we do get multiple attempts at a Beer Street Journal last call here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Will that come around to bite some of these drivers? Well, we will only have to wait and see. Green flag now waves back at Daytona. John Cannizzaro with a push from the number 1 of Jason Gracias. But watch that outside line. Drew, we've seen that outside line, even at the beginning of the race, on the initial start, be so strong. And Matt Cherry now fading just a little bit and doesn't have the number 6 of Doug Milner tucked up behind him, like the number 1 of Gracias is behind Cannizzaro, but we'll see whether or not they can get a big charge of steam down the backstretch as we are coming to just 8 laps to go. This time it will just be 20 miles left here in The Last Jedi. Was a bad movie 250, one of the better race title names that we've ever had here on 3 Wide TV. At least it isn't a major tongue twister, as that outside line led by Cherry, Milliner, Darling, and even Philip Scott. Remember in the number 99, he was a lap down a little while ago. The National Ninja League was our first beneficiary of the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. He's inside the top 10 once again here tonight. And luckily for Philip Scott, he won't have to come back down pit road, we don't think, for the rest of the night. That's where his big setback was that put him a lap down earlier in the show. But Drew, it's go time here at Daytona. I think this is the time. 8 laps to go. With the way this front pack is so pulled together, so much of a glob, that you're going to want to start positioning yourself sooner rather than later to get up to the front. Maybe if the field was a little bit spread out a little bit, as Matt Cherry having a little bit of a difficulty leading that top line, as Doug Milliner trying to find the rear bumper of the number 54 to push him side by side with Cannizzaro up there. But this is the time to position yourself. 7 laps to go.
Yeah, Peter. Oh, the 1 and the 23 both got loose. That bottom lane almost looks like it's loose going into 1. It's so hard to kind of manage how hard to push, because pushing too hard can be counterproductive, as the 54 is certainly clear of the number 12. Will he stay high? Will he try to cut off John Cannizzaro on that bottom lane? No, he will not. And that inside lane, oh, he tries to the 54. Whoa! The 12, I gotta say, was very, very, very kind right there. That could have been basically the entire field had the 12 not backed out of it and given the 54 room. I gotta say, I don't think that's gonna happen twice, knowing one John Cannizzaro. Oh, caution is out. Our third caution, that must have happened further back in the pack. Oh, it's still going on. Doug Neal involved. Jordan Shepler, oh, the 33 with a late hit. And I was actually going to bring up Doug Neal with the heck of a recovery effort, but unfortunately, I think that's going to be cut short as we look at the replay of exactly what happened in that wreck right there. Here we go, looking on the short chute. What happens right here? It looks like the 9 drifts up, turns the 51 down into the 77, and that's how Doug Neal gets involved. That wheel-to-wheel contact in iRacing, which is absolutely brutal. Sends the 77 hard. Oh my goodness, that's a hard hit into the outside wall. Philip Scott, nowhere to go, smashes into the back of the 51, and now everyone's just trying to figure out a place to go. The 13 involved. Does the 2 skate by? I think that number 2 machine, wow, Peter, I think he's going to skirt by if the 33 doesn't get involved. Justin White with a heck of a move right there to get through that mess, but that just shows you how quickly the track can get blocked in the momentum, and oh, a big hit there right at the end between the 33 and the 77.
Yeah, and this is the move, the number 9 machine. I said it's time to make the move. Tried to go 3 wide up the middle, and maybe the 51 came down just a little bit. The 9 appears to do a fairly good job as all the chaos breaks out behind him. The 77 almost going up and over, but caution flag number 3 here tonight. I want to see if we can get a replay on the number 2 machine of Justin White here. Drew, you mentioned it. Got extremely lucky in all this madness. Let's see. There's the initial contact. He slows down. Actually, looks like he got a little bit of a bump from behind. Maybe another bump there on the left side. But luckily for him, able to scoot on through. Not half bad, all things considered. He might be our Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Yeah, got a hit from behind from the number 48. And yeah, got another hit from Jordan Scheffler, but all things considered, could have been a whole lot worse for that driver of the number 2 machine. Of course, what we have to do, as always, here on 3Y TV, we have to give the good old gyro cam a workout. And we'll see exactly what happened right here. Gets hard hit into the wall on board with Doug Neal. This is the hit that almost sent him upside down. That hit from the number 99 to Philip Scott. A tough break for the National Ninja League machine. And then, man, Doug Neal got thrown around there at the end again in that incident.
Yeah, unfortunate for quite a few drivers involved in that whole incident. Yeah, it's one of those deals where again, I think the guys that got kind of the worst end of that, I mean, quite frankly, everyone other than the 51, which didn't do anything wrong, got the worst end of it. It was basically the 9 that kind of maybe moved up, maybe the 51 moved down, but the 9 made an aggressive move to force the 3 wide, and I think he's more or less okay. It's basically everyone behind him that wasn't directly involved in that got the bad end of that deal. But Peter, I gotta say, the way this race is trending, I can't imagine that we have seen the last yellow flag of this race.
I don't think so either. We're at 4 laps to go. We might actually have an unofficial Beer Street Journal last call. An unofficial Beer Street Journal last call is when we have 2 laps to go, but don't actually get into kind of the overtime scenario that we usually have here. Now, I am trying to figure out who was the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. It might have been Ben Mashburn, but don't quote me on that, folks. He's just now coming off pit road in the number 4 machine. Remember, he was involved in the prior incident, so it looks like we will have an unofficial Beer Street Journal last call. There's Ben Mashburn just now peeling off of pit road. It may also have been Justin White, who is, but he's still being shown 1 lap down in his machine. Maybe it was Nathan Maurer. That would make more sense, because Maurer is hustling to get around to the back of the pack here. So it could have been Nathan Maurer. I wasn't sure if Maurer was a lap down or not, Drew, but looks like he'll be one of the last starters on the lead lap when we go back green. 1 lap from now, 2 laps to go. Oh, Joshua Corner letting me know in the chat. Thanks for letting me know, Joshua, that Stan Hausman in the number 39 machine. It's a bit confusing, folks, because sometimes the first truck 1 or more laps down doesn't actually get the lucky dog. In situations where a driver is involved in an incident. So for that last incident, we saw Justin White, who kind of was in the lucky dog position. He was involved in an incident, and because he was involved in it, made him ineligible for the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. So Stan Hausman gets it under this particular caution flag and will get one of his laps back. He's in the 15th position, but is still scored 2 laps down. That just gives you an indication, Drew, that a good majority of the back half of the field was involved in that last caution. Now, we might not be done with the caution flags here tonight. We will see whether or not we get a BeerStreetJournal.com last call. This is an unofficial last call. We'll get a green-white checker, but a natural green-white checker. But will we see a Beer Street Journal last call? Only time will tell, because the green flag waves here in The Last Jedi was a bad movie, 250. With the 54, Matt Cherry with that crazy move to get to the race lead. He leads as they head towards turn number 1.
Here we go, Peter. 2 laps to go. And that number 54 machine being pushed aggressively by the 1 through the center of 1 and 2. That is certainly a move right there. The question is anyone going to force it 3 wide? If we take the white flag, that will be the second to last flag to the checkered that we will see here as that bottom lane certainly surging forward right now. Here comes Chris Darling to the inside. That leaves John Cannizzaro high and dry on that outside lane. Now the 23 making a move to the outside of that number 1 machine. Here we come down the short street into the tri-oval. And the 54 of Matt Cherry leads Jason Gracias to the white flag.
With no Beer Street Journal last calls, we will race it out here. 250 miles, 247 and a half are in the books, just 2.5 left to go. Matt Cherry up at the front of the field, but oh my goodness, Jason Gracias gets turned. Championship implications. A lot of these drivers are chase drivers. Gracias going backwards. Chris Darling is involved, and in the wall, John Cannizzaro, championship chaser. Holy smokes, the number 2 of Justin White is involved. Meanwhile, up the front of the field, Matt Cherry all by his lonesome. Randy Perdue has squeaked up into second. He's miles back. Nothing that the number 25 of Randy Perdue can do. It is clean sailing for the number 54, who at the beginning of the night, breaking news, joined the chase group by the fact that Jeff Price was not able to race, and 54, Matt Cherry, goes to victory lane at Daytona. Heartbreak for others like Cannizzaro, like Jason Gracias, like Chris Darling, all involved in a late race accident.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could ask for a more dramatic turn 1 of the last lap. I was kind of hoping it would probably happen on the short shoot, but what a dramatic end to the race. Just trying to figure out exactly what happened, which we will do through the replay right here, Peter. It looks like the 11 just kind of was underneath the one where there wasn't ever going to be room, and then there we go. There's the big caution that took out everybody else. I got to be honest, I thought the 25 was going to draft up to the 54 and grab this race win right there, but really unfortunate for basically everybody else involved besides the 11 and the 1, which, I mean, hey, you know, you play those games, you win those prizes sometimes, but it's unfortunate when you're Cannizzaro, when you're the 23 machine, when you're everybody else that's involved. Is one driver that's super happy given the last 24 hours. Our race winner, Matt Cherry, in that 54, couldn't have picked a better way to start off his chase run.
Yeah, that is 100% true. He's the driver who needed the most points, Drew, because that number 54 machine needed points to get himself up into the fight for the championship. There's no better way to do it than start off the chase with a big win and also have some of the big hitters like Jason Gracias, like John Cannizzaro, have some bad luck right there on the run to the checkered flag on the final lap. Matt Cherry is going to be one happy camper when we get to interview him in just a moment. Josh Corner in the chat saying that he came in 5th after all that madness. Remember, that number 9 was involved in the penultimate caution. Or actually, the final caution that we had, because that last wreck didn't cause a caution. But at least the penultimate accident that we had here tonight. But what a crazy finish. Drew, I mean, here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series in the NSRA, you have to stick around to the final lap. You really do to get the full story of these races, because they keep us on our feet all the way to the end. Out of the chair, great racing, awesome stuff here in the NSRA for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could anticipate more drama than what we just witnessed in a pretty crazy last lap that I mean, I didn't even anticipate that we wouldn't get a true Beer Street Journal last call, but I mean, the fact that Matt Cherry was able to turn this opportunity into a win and kind of grab opportunity by the horns and get up there and fight for this championship, it's going to make this battle exciting. I think it's going to be interesting to see how do the drivers that were involved rebound from this kind of setback that they just had on this last lap here at Daytona. Guys like Chris Darling, Jason Gracias, and John Cannizzaro. I think we're going to have a heck of a championship battle as these chase races continue to develop.
Well, let's see if we can jump down now to the Third place finisher, driver of the 971 machine. Second night in a row he's been up here in the 3-wide TV booth. Nathan Maurer, Peter Short up here. You got a copy?
I got you guys. How you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing good. You were really good last night. You were on a roll last night at Iowa, but here tonight at Daytona International Speedway, another good showing, another podium. Walk us through those final laps and kind of talk us through your race, because things didn't all go well for the 971 tonight.
It went well there till that last caution. They started wrecking in front of me, and I slowed up. But even though I yell over the radio that they're wrecking, people just feel like still going as fast as they can. And I got damage in the rear. I was just trying to. I wanted to do. I knew I was going to get hit, so I just kind of tried getting to the walls as fast as I can before I got hit. So my impact wouldn't be bad on the front. Then I knew they were going to wreck there at the end. Man, you get some of these names up front that race hard. I knew there was going to be another wreck there, and I just dropped back, and I knew it was going to happen. I didn't think I was going to get a P3. I mean, I'm starting second to last here in the playoffs, and just doing what I did all season, just running consistent. So, but then against Superspeedway. But I'm just glad I came out of here tonight with a P3.
Yeah, you definitely came out of here with a top 3 finish, a very good result for you. Next week, of course, we go to Homestead, Miami, mile-and-a-half racetrack that races unlike any other mile-and-a-half here in the iRacing service. It tends to be kind of a love-it-or-hate-it racetrack. What are your thoughts about Homestead?
I hate Homestead. I'm not a big fan of those kind of tracks. I'll probably do well, but I'm just not a big fan of that track. I'm sure I'll probably hit the wall at some point coming out of 4.
Well, we'll be keeping an eye out for it, Nathan. We'll be taking the Darlington stripe count at Homestead, Miami off turn number 4, that's for sure, next week. But a great race here at Daytona. Before we let you go, any shout-outs you'd like to give out?
Yeah, I got to give a shout-out to STS for sponsoring the league. Shout-out to Chris and Justin, and also a race control guy. I don't think anybody ever thinks thanks to race control. He's here every week. He must be making a lot of money. Chris must be paying him too good to come here every week. And yeah, shout out to you guys for broadcasting. Shout out to my teammates Doug, Justin, and Sticky, Travis White, and you guys for broadcasting. Yeah, I already said that. And yeah, everybody here tonight. It was fun. It was fun racing. Too many cautions there, and but it was fun. It was good racing.
Well, that is for sure. Nathan, congratulations here tonight on your 3rd place finish. We'll see you again next week at Homestead.
Yep. See you guys. Have a good one.
All right, that's going to do it for tonight's 3rd place finisher, and I believe that Mr. Drew Eisenman has caught up with tonight's runner-up, Randy Perdue, coming out of the smoke to finish 2nd, Drew.
Mr. Perdue, I got to say, what a last lap, but Drew Eisenman up here in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy. Mr. Perdue, Drew Eisenman up here in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy.
Yeah, I got you. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. I tell you what, I mean, a heck of a race, a heck of a last lap. Tell us what you saw out of that front windshield.
A miracle. The heavens opened, and I got a little redemption. I ran good, ran up front all race long, and not quite sure what happened. Somewhere 76, 77, somewhere around there, got put off in the grass, and it just kind of went downhill from there. But made my way back through, and then all of a sudden the waters parted.
Now, Randy, are you a guy that typically looks forward to these super speedways? What's your favorite type of track, and then kind of what's your mindset going into these plate tracks?
Mindset in the plate tracks is just stay out of trouble. Just try to stay out of somebody else's junk and messes. It's kind of hard to do sometimes, and in this particular case, I was able to start up front and quickly get close to the front and just kind of stay there most of the race. That in itself was basically the strategy, and pit with the leaders.
And now next Friday we have Homestead. What are your thoughts on that kind of more traditionally shaped 1.5 mile oval?
I like Homestead. I usually do fairly well. I think we It seems like we raced there earlier this year, but either way, I like the racetrack. I like the way it races, and I usually do reasonably well there.
So I gotta ask, going into Monday, I don't know if you're a big college football fan. I know I certainly am. I know your region, your club is Georgia. Do you have any thoughts going into Monday night?
No, actually, I'm not a big ball sports, college sports, professional sports. I always tell everybody if it isn't racing, if it ain't slinging horns at you, going 200 miles an hour, I'm not interested. But uh, being as that my sister is alumni at Georgia, I guess we're rooting for Georgia.
Okay, so I'm that's actually a setup question. So I got a question. Given that you're not a huge Georgia guy, what do you think about the nickname the Boilermaker given your last name? I think it's a pretty cool nickname, and I think it's something that we should roll with going forward.
That'll be all right.
All right, there we go. The Boilermaker himself. Congratulations on your runner-up finish, Randy. Thanks for talking with us. But before we let you go, is there anybody that you would like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, well, we'd like to give a shout to you guys, 3 Wide TV, MaxGrafix, and Craig's Setup Shop, and Stay Tuned Sports, and all those guys that make it possible and let us come out here and have a really good time, have some fun racing.
We certainly had fun watching y'all on track tonight. Once again, congratulations on your podium finish, second place finish. Thanks for talking with us, and we look forward to seeing you at Homestead.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a great evening.
You as well.
All right, that's going to do it with our second place finisher, Randy Perdue. And I think it is time now to head down to Victory Lane, where tonight's race winner, the number 54 machine of Matt Cherry, has his truck's still out there on the start-finish line right there for the whole world to see. It must have blown the motor or something, but he's standing alongside me. Matt, congratulations on this race here tonight. I go back to the opening 20 laps or so when you got a little bit loose there through the tri-oval, got sent down towards the inside wall, somehow miraculously able to save the truck, and more importantly, keep it going straight and clear of damage. And you end up in Victory Lane with a wild last couple of laps. Talk us through your night, because it was a wild one here at Daytona.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. We come to the tri over there, and we hit the apron a little bit, and it sent the back end of the truck almost completely around. It was all over the place. I didn't think I was going to be able to hold on to it, but luckily, everybody wasn't going as hard as they could, and we were able to catch back up. But that wreck there on the last lap, I don't know what happened really. I just seen everybody wrecking, but we didn't take tires this entire race, and when I was out front there, I felt like I just couldn't get up to speed as fast as everybody behind me was, and I think that's why Jason spun out back there, because he was trying to push me, and we couldn't go nowhere.
Well, I mean, even though you said that, it really helps that basically everyone that was around you got involved in that late race accident. I mean, it was going to be kind of a little bit of a slugfest all the way to the checkered flag, especially with everyone being kind of side by side, but they all got taken out. What was going through your mind when you looked up there in the rearview mirror and all of a sudden, you're the only one left?
Yeah, I was happy it happened, but I mean, I wanted to be a photo finish back to the line, but I mean, we'll take them how we can get them, I guess.
Take them how you can get them. And starting off the chase with a win. We got the news earlier tonight that Jeff Price, due to his surgery, we all want to wish him the very best from us here at 3Y TV and the National Sim Racing Association. But with Jeff kind of stepping out of his spot, it elevated you into the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series chase, and you started off with a win here, buddy. I mean, I don't think there's any better way to start off the chase, because you were kind of at a points deficit entering tonight.
Yeah, I mean, beginning of the season wasn't the best for us. I mean, I had some run-ins, and we've got wrecked quite a few times, and I've wrecked myself a few times, and it's just, I mean, we were so close to making it in by points, but we didn't do it, and I hate that Jeff had to step away, but I mean, he's got some healing to do, I guess, but yeah, it all worked out perfect, I guess.
I apologize, the cough there into my sleeve, but it definitely sets yourself up with an opportunity to get points and to contend for the series title, and that is something we're very, very excited to watch over these next 4 races, starting with next week at the Homestead Miami Speedway. I know you like a loose racetrack, and usually the racetracks at Homestead Miami are a little bit on the looser side. What are your thoughts going to Homestead?
Well, it's not my best track. I won't be able to really figure the line out, because I know iRacing has done different stuff to different tracks and on trying to make the multi-groove surface. I think it's like middle to high of the line there. I don't think you can do much on the bottom.
Yeah, usually that second groove is a little bit better at Homestead Miami, but it's going to be a lot of fun nonetheless. I expect a good showing next week from everyone here in the National Sim Racing Association, but tonight it was a good showing for you in that number 54 Stay Tuned Sports Podcast truck. Before I let you go, any shout-outs you'd like to give out, Matt?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my sponsor for coming on board with us this year. I know we ain't got the finishes that they would like, but, they've stuck right there with us, so I'm glad we could get this one tonight.
That is for sure. Folks, that's going to do it with our post-race interview. Thanks for stopping by, Matt. Best of luck next week at Homestead.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
Well, what a crazy and exciting night for the number 54 machine of Matt Cherry here at the Daytona International Speedway. Definitely was exciting all the way up to the checkered flag when it finally fell for all of us here. And now it's, I think, time to do what we sometimes forget to do a little bit earlier, but that is the Taz Racing Customs Biggest Mover of the Race Award. And tonight, it is going to go to the driver of the number 974 machine, Nathan Maurer, who started this race all the way back in 22nd, comes home and finishes in third, 19 spots picked up for him here tonight. Want to give a big shout out to Nathan on that. If you need a custom diecast, make sure to check out our friends over at Taz Racing Customs for all of your custom diecast needs. There's a link in the description of this right here YouTube video that you can go click on. We really would appreciate you checking out our sponsors, and if you know someone who wants a custom diecast of their iRacing car, well, they're the place to go. Make sure you check them out. Drew, I think it's time to go through tonight's final race results here. Before we get to the final race results, just briefly, we did run a poll here tonight, and it was The Last Jedi is a bad movie 250. And Doug Milliner in the chat has just seen the chat poll. And I think because he just saw the chat poll, I think he kind of gets a right to vote. And we know he's the one who thinks it's a bad movie. So I will say that with 11 votes, yes wins with 6 votes and no loses with only 5. So kind of probably there in the margin of error with the number of people that we have votes kind of in the grand scheme of things. But Doug Milliner with a hot take there, kind of tipping the poll on the side of, yes, it was a bad movie. Interesting. That might be a discussion going forward here on the 3Y TV channel. But Drew, why don't you take it away with tonight's final race results here?
Yeah, Matt Cherry, we just heard from him. Our race winner tonight sets himself up exceptionally well for the rest of his championship push. Randy Perdue, the Boilermaker himself, finishes second. Nathan Maurer in third. John Cannizzaro, I mean, considering the wreck, Peter, I don't think fourth is too bad of a result for that number 12 machine. Josh Corner in fifth. Then it's Nick Kessler, Doug Milner, Ben Mashburn in eighth. Jason Gracias, I think he's one of the bigger losers out of that wreck in ninth, as is Chris Darling, who rounds out our top 10.
In the 11th position here tonight, Travis White in the number 23 machine, one of our chase drivers. Fred Lester in the number 48, who never could get his lap back after a pit road mishap, finishes in 12th. Justin White, 2 laps down, chase driver in 13th. Jordan Schepler, who was our CraigSetupShop.co.uk Pole Award winner at the top of the show, finishing 14th. Stan Hausman, who finishes 2 laps down in the 15th position. Vincent Valvano, 3 laps down in 16th. Adam Dama, not exactly sure what happened to the number 17. A very long pit stop for him, finishing 4 laps down. I know he was at one point involved in an accident as well. That probably didn't help that cause. Martin Plute, involved in a late race accident, finishes 5 laps down in the 18th position. Looking back to the 19th position here, we got Philip Scott, also involved in a late race accident. Doug Neal as well. Them finishing 19th and 20th. Just to take you through the rest of the field. Adam Newton, 21st. Jeffrey Johnson Jr., 22nd. Adam Leichty in 23rd. Garrett Gleason and Johnny Williams running out our 25 starters that we had here tonight in the Last Jedi Was a Bad Movie 250 here at Daytona. 250 miles in the books here tonight, Drew. Definitely was a kind of a wild race all the way at the end after it was so calm in the first, really, the first 85 laps or so. It was nice and calm, just kind of got a little bit testy at the end, but that's kind of what you expect here at the Superspeedway races anyway.
Yeah, it feels like there's kind of 2 types of super speedway races. There's the type that gets the big wreck out of the way early, reduces the amount of trucks or cars involved, and then it goes green from there. And there's the type that kind of slowly builds and builds and builds, and that's kind of what we saw tonight. As soon as that caution happened with about 23, 22 to go, I figured, hey, there's so many trucks left in this thing that we're probably going to see a few more incidents from here on out, and that's exactly what we saw. And quite frankly, I mean, the 54 of Matt Cherry able to capitalize on that, but it's kind of luck who was involved and who wasn't. I think everybody watching thought that there was going to be that last big wreck on the last lap. That's exactly what happened. Matt Cherry, Randy Perdue, Nathan Maurer able to capitalize on it, and that really set guys like Jason Gracias and Chris Darling back with the chase, and Travis White, as a matter of fact. And now these guys that kind of had that big wreck really affect their point situation. They're going to have to figure out what they need to do at Homestead, and I think we're going to see a few trucks really refocused in their efforts for the rest of this chase.
That is for sure. But, folks, you're not going to want to miss race number 2 of the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series Chase right here on 3Wide TV next week, Friday, January 14th, right here on 3Wide TV at 9 o'clock Eastern. It's going to be another one in the state of Florida, round number 2 of the chase. Going to absolutely be a good one to tune in for. A big shout out to our sponsors here, Stay Tuned Sports and the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast. Of course, good friends over at CraigSetupShop.co.uk, becoming Dr. Mashburn, the podcast as well, a series sponsor here, MaxGrafix.co, BeerStreetJournal.com, and Taz Racing Customs, and everyone else here in the National Sim Racing Association who helped put this all together here on 3Wide TV. And of course, Happy New Year to all of our viewers. This was our second broadcast of the year and might have been the first one that you caught this year. Happy New Year to you. Hopefully 2022 is a great season, and I'm looking forward to what the rest of this particular season has on offer for us. But nonetheless, that's going to do it for us here tonight from Daytona International Speedway on 3Wide TV. Folks, stay safe and all that good stuff, and we shall see ya.